Good evening, Belize, and welcome to XTV's news broadcast for Wednesday, October 30, 2024. Making the headlines tonight, UEF's Yaya Marin Coleman begins protest to advocate for hair policy. Matter of forcible takeover of UDP headquarters headed to court, and police investigate murder in Red Bank, Stan Creek. We take our first break and return with the news in detail.
and reflect our society at its best. Equal Opportunities Bill. Belize, we're ready.
Welcome back. With your news, I am Marisol, Amaya. Due to the continued discrimination of students in some schools over their hair, Yaya Marin Coleman, chairperson of the UBAD Educational Foundation, UEF, today started one of her solo protests to get the government to institute a hair policy. As these cases have repeated themselves at the start of every school year, authorities indicated every time to Marin Coleman upon follow-up that they addressed each case individually. Marin Coleman emphasizes the importance of having a national hair policy, and she calls for it to include penalties for violating the school.
Just one quick scan of the news, and because our interest, the African descendants racialized as black people, and when we do this, because we know we can succeed, just no matter when, other Belizeans won't benefit. But our focus is on African children racialized as black people, students. Finally, we've just go on quick online search. You have hair discrimination with Belizean students in all 6 districts. I think 4 towns and 3 villages. I think from like 20, over maybe a 9-year span. I know people advise you, and I'm going to the school, the last school, which I'm ACC this academic year, so I'm going to the school. But I know I'm a wise brother, and I'm calling and say, yeah, go to the Ministry of Education. And I'm not going to Belmopan. Yeah, so I want there, and I love that I in this area because the area represented not only a black man, that a deputy prime minister, and come from a conscious black family. So they're on good grounds. And we just say that the Ministry of Education need to create one national hair policy. The Ministry of Education in a violation of the Constitution of Belize. Under both administration, the Ministers of Education, the Chief Education Officer, the Chief Executive Officer come out and give lip service every time we hear discrimination story make the news. And the discrimination continues, so they can't say they don't know. They're aware of this systemic violation. They're just talking. The state have a responsibility for creating one policy with steep violations, especially for repeated offenders. You have recommendation: first offense 50,000, second 100,000, third 150,000.
Marin Coleman says she sent photographs of her protest to the Minister of Education and also informed that she is internationalizing the campaign. We asked who should have a seat at the table for the drafting of such a policy.
We have had solidarity partners in the region, different Caribbean countries, globally in Europe, North America, so we internationalize this injustice as well. I think that Angola, Trinidad, and Puerto Rico, and maybe a country or two on the continent have changed their policies, because these policies are from the European colonizers, and now we have the neo-colonizers. So it won't happen. It catch on slowly because it's a violation of human rights. The whole education system, for the most part, that believes they're in violation of human rights because they want a church-state system. And people have one right to choose if they want to be a part of any organized religion at all. So schools should really be a secular space. Puerto Rico are the latest one, and then got one extra step that they never just look for amending the education policy, they extend it to employment. So there is not hair discrimination in the private sector, as it relates to employment and in the government sector. And secondly, yes, prior to that policy, I would need to be a part of that process. And you can't bring nobody to the process. We don't have no credibility, meaning they don't have no receipt of advocating on behalf of the communities where they set and represent, with evidence that they do. Now, if there's any other group of people, wherever advocate come out as it relates to hair discrimination, you could sit down at that table. Any of the families will never report their story. Any of the families will report their story, children, and they're still traumatized years later. Then could be part of that meaningful people participation prior to that policy being drafted.
The matter of the forcible takeover of the headquarters of the United Democratic Party by members of the Alliance for Democracy is headed to court. Sources say the leader of the opposition, Honorable Moses Shine Barrow, intends to apply for an injunction before the end of the work week. Today, in a release, the Barrow executive stated it has retained legal counsel to proceed immediately with court action to put an end to the unlawful occupation. Our reports are that the police guarded the second floor of the headquarters until Tuesday morning and left thereafter, allowing the AFD to gain full possession of the building. They had gained entry only to the first floor the day before. The Barrow executive in its release called the AFD members thugs and said they engaged in actions that could have led to bloodshed and which are dangerous attacks on democracy. According to the release, the AFD committed crimes on live television because of their hunger for power and a frightening disregard for the rule of law. Barrow's UDP has also expressed disappointment in the Commissioner of Police, saying the police department failed to protect against unlawful acts. Today, Dr. Christopher Malcolm, an esteemed professor and attorney at law from Jamaica, who has also been admitted to practice law in Belize, shared his opinion on the takeover and, in particular, on the claim that the AFD could have acted on the strength of Philippa Bailey being named trustee on the land transfer document.
So let me clarify something. Contract 101. You transfer land by reference to a contract or a gift deed on the deed by gift and all those sorts of things. You do that. But let us say in this instance, what I have read is a transfer that said the land was transferred to the UDP, and it names the UDP in it as the transferee, quite frankly. And there was a signatory at the end. And from memory, I'm remembering that the figure said for $2,600. That much was recorded. So what it is that the instrument of transfer 101 contract, in fact, where a contract is concerned, as you probably know, there is no need for anything to be recorded in writing. In fact, when you hear people speak about a contract in writing, it's a misnomer. What you have is a contract evidenced in writing. But where land transactions in particular are concerned, the requirement is that you will not get a transfer effected unless you have an instrument in writing to support it. So the instrument of transfer is merely that document which is then produced or provided to the registrar of titles, who then acts upon it to effect the transfer or the recording of it on title. But the moment it is recorded on title, as I said, if you now were buying a piece of land personally, you're not going to go to the registry to say, let me see the instrument of transfer, because you're not interested in that. Your interest is, let me see the title to see who the owners are, so I can determine whether or not I'm buying from the right owner or selling to whatever it is that you're doing. So that is what matters. So the person saying that the instrument of transfer had her, quite frankly, I would be so bold as to say those lawyers need to go back to examine their own minds as to what land law is all about.
In other news, police in Independence are investigating a murder. Authorities responded to a report of the body of a man being found at the Red Bank dump at around 3 p.m. When they got on the scene, they observed that the body had cut wounds. The deceased was identified as 35-year-old Wilmer Che. A post-mortem awaits. The Taiwanese Minister of Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Lin Chia-Long, met with the media on Tuesday in Belmopan to kick off his two-day visit in Belize. We reported Tuesday night that both countries affirmed their continued commitment to strengthening their bilateral relations. However, following the ceremony, Lin tackled tough questions from the media. He was asked to address skepticism from leader of the opposition, Honorable Moses Shine Barrow, on Taiwan's relationship with Belize. Lin said they have worked with both parties in the past and intend to continue doing so.
But this is democracy, so with democracy comes different opinions. That's a natural phenomenon. But we are confident on the bipartisan support from your political elites, and most importantly, the support from the grassroots people. So generally speaking, the position of people are quite satisfied with the partnership between our two countries. So regardless of election competition or outcomes, we are confident because we have experienced the different party leadership during the past 35 years. So, yeah, and we congratulate Brazilian people on your achievement in terms of democracy and rule of law and respect for human rights.
Lin was also asked to comment on the issue of Belizeans who receive scholarships to study in Taiwan choosing to stay there. He said they will consider future incentives to encourage Belizeans to return home to help develop the country.
Education is important for talent cultivation and social mobility. So the fellowship recipient from Taiwan, from Belize, now many of us stay in Taiwan and make their contribution to our society. We thanks for that. We will also encourage Brazilian people in Taiwan to learn from Taiwan and then return to their home country to make more contributions. We will work with your government on providing more incentive to help them start their business here in Belize.
Lin also addressed the matter of Guatemala being encouraged by mainland China to sever ties with Taiwan. He said ultimately the decision lies with Guatemala, but commented that the two countries have a good relationship and the way Taiwan functions is quite different compared to China. After the break, mobility impaired in Orange Walk and Cayo due to continued flooding. Stay with us.
As motorcyclists, we know the thrill of the open road.
dead. Freetown Drugstore, telephone 223-2876.
Welcome back. The news continues. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, continues to advise motorists on the condition of the roadways in the Caillou and Orange Walk districts, as the river levels in both have yet to return to normal following excessive rains experienced last week. In Belmopan, the J&W subdivision's main access road is once again closed. The Maya Mopan exit remains closed as works continue with the installation of larger culverts. The Cotton Tree exit, which leads to the George Price Highway, remains open. However, drivers are still being asked to traverse with caution. Elsewhere in the Caillou district, the low-lying wooden bridge in San Ignacio and Santa Elena remain closed. The Iguana Creek Bridge in Blackman Eddy is also still closed, and so are the Baking Pot Ferry and the San Antonich Ferry. In the Orange Walk district, both the San Roman and San Antonio roads remain impassable for small vehicles, and drivers of larger vehicles are advised to traverse with caution. The Institute of Archaeology also advises that visitations to San Antonich, the ATM Cave, Barton Creek, and Nohoch Chen archaeological reserves remain suspended until further notice. All other archaeological reserves are currently open. The Institute assures stakeholders that it will continue to monitor river conditions and will provide updates as necessary. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Infrastructure, Development and Housing has issued an advisory to notify motorists that there is a hazard at the abutment for the approach of Bermudian Landing Bridge in the Belize River Valley area of the Belize district. A portion of the roadway pavement has eroded, leaving behind what appears to be a sinkhole into the Belize River below. The ministry currently has a team dispatched to address the issue and cautions motorists that there may be delays due to this. Motorists are also notified that during this time, only one lane will be open to vehicular traffic, and drivers are asked to proceed with extreme caution. During his two-day visit to Belize, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of China, Taiwan, His Excellency Lin Chia-long, traveled to San Pedro and Burgers Key, where he toured the location of the future San Pedro and Keycocker General Hospital north of San Pedro town. The hospital is being built through a partnership with Taiwan. Minister of Health and Wellness, Honorable Kevin Bernard, spoke of the services that are to be offered at the new hospital.
From emergency services and maternity care to routine checkups, this facility will provide accessible, high-quality health care right here in San Pedro. The hospital will be staffed by a dedicated team of doctors, nurses, and medical professionals who will work tirelessly to ensure each patient receives the best care possible. Currently, the polyclinic that we have in the island function as a 24-hour polyclinic, providing emergency, urgent, and routine health services. So this new facility will complement existing services and expand to include specialty care, significantly reducing the cost and saving lives. New services, of course, will include internal medicine, surgery, pediatric care, and obstetric care, encompassing prenatal, intrapartum, and postnatal care, as well as preventative and curative services for children and adults. Surgeries including emergency procedures for conditions like appendicitis and ectopic pregnancies, as well as elective surgeries like gallstone removal, will also be performed at this very new facility. Internal medical specialists will manage conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and more without patients needing to. So therefore, this will not require our people to have to leave the island.
Honorable Andra Perez, the area representative for Belize Rural South, which includes both Burgers Key and Keycocker, said the structure is to be strong enough to withstand hurricane-force winds. He added that the construction is on schedule.
This hospital will be serving as much as 30,000 people here in Keycocker and San Pedro, and as well as tourism that it swells at times for the busy season. I can tell you that this building, I am being kept abreast on a weekly basis, that this building is being built correctly, in tune with climate change, building a building that is so resilient that will be able to withstand hurricanes. So to update you, this building that we're building here is going to take approximately about 3 years or so. And I'm keeping in touch right now that you will see the inspection right now that we are well on the foundations being built. But the people here are very grateful because as we grow, this infrastructure of this community that is growing so fast, the most important component here is a hospital. And your government and our government have done the right thing by choosing something that is critically important for this community.
In other news, Atlantic Bank recently installed a new ATM at their Coral Grove branch in Belize City. However, customers from other municipalities have complained that some have access to just one ATM location. Mike Mena, the senior manager of the business and retail banking unit of Atlantic Bank Limited, told us that the company is looking to install more ATMs across the country.
The plan of the bank is to increase the number of ATMs countrywide. We are in a strategy process right now, and there's more information coming with that as we try to find strategic locations and increase our presence that way. But technically, we feel that the digital platforms that we have right now on our table, the e-commerce solutions, the web checkouts, the e-client services, the payment links, and the QR code links that we have that customers can use to collect payments is the way to go because of the convenience of not having cash on hand. There's a lot of security risk with taking out cash. People are watching, different locations accepting cash. We're trying to transition into these e-commerce platforms. So it's a two-folded situation. Customers using the debit cards and using the e-commerce platforms to make payments, as well as the merchants accepting payments through digital platforms so that they can have the money go directly to their bank account as opposed to them making like deposits or going into the ATM and going into the banks to make deposits. It saves on their convenience, their time for the employees, to be more at their merchant place, their business, to make money and to not invest in the time.
Mena also addressed the current issue some are experiencing of debit cards not being read by some ATMs. He said they will eventually replace the existing machines.
There's an ongoing process that we're fixing. So part of the ATM dissemination coming soon is that those ATMs in those branches countrywide will be replaced. As you know, when you use the cards a lot, it gets dirty. It gets sometimes the little strip at the back of the card gets scratched or tear. It's just the overuse of the cards through the ATMs and stuff like that. It's just something that we are aware of, and it's being fixed, towards getting there.
Chief Justice Honorable Louise Esther Blenman has announced that the senior courts of Belize will soft launch a new website on November 1st. In a release, the court explains that the new website is designed to provide easier access to information by litigants, judicial officers, legal practitioners, and members of the public. It says this will ensure greater transparency, efficiency, and convenience. To effect the transformation, the Chief Justice established a website modernization committee comprising 3 judges. They obtained input from other judges, their IT personnel, and attorneys at law from the private and public bar. The new website was developed by Odin Creative of St. Lucia. After the break, a road traffic accident on Coney Drive leaves 1 motorcyclist injured. Stay tuned.
It's our lives.
A road traffic accident was reported near Whitfield Tower on Coney Drive in Belize City shortly after 1 this afternoon. Reports are that the driver of an SUV was pulling into Coney Drive when with a motorcycle. The driver of the motorcycle reportedly began to have seizures as a result of the accident and was rushed to the Carl Hirschner Memorial Hospital for treatment. On the scene were relatives of both men who appear to agree that the incident was simply an accident. They also said it appears the victim received only minor injuries as he was already talking. The driver of the SUV is cooperating with police and has agreed to assist with medical expenses. Police are investigating. The Sister Cecilia Home for the Elderly in Belize City today was the host of a festive, colorful birthday party, and it was a very special one. Today is the 100th birthday of retired Salvation Army officer Major Hortense Tennyson, and her party was well observed and attended. Retired Major and former Regional Commander for the Salvation Army, Errol Robato, spoke of Tennyson's career and the type of person she was when she was younger.
She, after her pastorate, she retired in Jamaica. She served in Suriname and some of the other islands, but mainly in Jamaica. She retired around the 1980s, the early 1980s, and she came back home after her retirement. I have been responsible for her since I came in 1983.
And can you tell us the type of person that she was when she was younger?
Very quiet, very mannerly, and soft-spoken person, very helpful. Of course, when she came, she took part in minor responsibilities and so on until she could do no more. And about a year or so ago, we had to bring her here because she needed a place that, could care for her. As far as I know, she has some relatives. I've never met them, but when she came, she asked us to find a place for her, and so I did some work done at the Salvation Army headquarters on Regent Street, and she's been living there since I came in the 1980s.
Sharon Pollack, the chairperson of the Sister Cecilia Home for the Elderly, spoke of celebrating birthdays for their residents and how it brings them joy.
We try to make much of the birthdays, especially, these 100-year birthdays, and we make the party for all the people. It's necessary for them to have good days and special days. So we're happy that she has made it, and I hope that she will live much longer now. Okay.
And Nadia Evadne-Katus was a Belizean-born British actress, singer, and songwriter who sadly passed away on Tuesday in London 5 days before her 100th birthday. Katus was born in Belize City in 1924 and in 1943, during the Second World War, went to Britain as a volunteer and was trained as a signals operator and became a part-time physical training instructor. Musically, some of her hit singles include Long Time Boy, Brown Girl in a Ring, Yellow Bird, and Red and Green Christmas. Today, Creme News XTV spoke with her son, Michael Lindop, a successful musician in his own right, who went down memory lane and spoke of what growing up with his mom was like.
I grew up with her being a very larger-than-life character, let's say. From when I was young, she would be singing around the house. We had a Polly parrot brought by a friend of hers from Belize in the early 60s, when people were still able to do those kind of things. And that became our family pet. And Mum used to teach it, or try to teach it, to sing Climb Every Mountain from The Sound of Music. And of course, Polly, as we called her, didn't quite get it right, but it was, would interact with the family. And, the sitting room was kind of like the playroom for me, and also the music room for Mum. So there was piano there were guitars, there were hand drums, there was a reel-to-reel tape recorder at some point, and of course the radiogram, the record player. So while I was young, my dad was still living with the family. He's a composer, arranger, so kind of music organically just existed. People would be coming in to drop by the house, either musicians who would be rehearsing with Mum for her concerts, or friends of hers, or sometimes there'd be cousins and uncles passing through. Her uncle Carlton, who actually came to the UK to work with the forestry a year before Mum came in 1943. He kind of had a great affection for Scotland, which Mum also kind of inherited because she followed in his footsteps in a way. He'd come to the house. There'd be other people come to the house. Belizean politicians would drop by. There'd be 10th of September parties when I was young. Lots of music playing. All of those old 10th of September records.
Lindup said his mom was supportive of his music career and assisted however she could. She also kept him grounded.
And then I'd often be taken with Mum to her concerts, and then when she was acting, sometimes to her play performances. I guess probably she couldn't always get a babysitter, so I'd be sat in the studio or backstage in the green room watching and so on. And so that I kind of grew up with Mum doing this, and in a way I knew it wasn't, not every parent did that, but it was sort of normal in a way. And I got into music myself quite young, just mucking about on the piano, and both myself and my sister had sort of lessons on the piano and the cello, and so we'd have family sing songs on the holidays. We'd be driving up to Scotland in our little car, doing 3-part harmonies and stuff, and it just kind of seemed natural. At the age of 14, I went to a specialist music school in Manchester called Cheetham School of Music, which took pupils, and you did your academic subjects sort of in the normal school day, and then everything around that was music lessons. And she'd found out of that through a journalist friend of hers called David Smithers, whose son was going to the school. And Mum made sure that she followed up, and I went to do an audition, and then because it was a fee-paying school and Mum couldn't afford the fees, she approached my then, her ex-husband, my father, who then kind of paid for me to go to the school to do that course. And while I was there, I took up the percussion, and I then auditioned for a music college, Guildhall School of Music in London, as a percussionist. I was living at home then. And whilst I was there, I met some musicians who ended up being the kind of founder members along with me of Level 42. And so Mum was would give words of encouragement, but also caution, because she was, she wanted to protect me, I guess.
Family is very humbled by the support received by Belizeans, and said his mom never lost touch with what was going on in Belize and still read the Amandala newspaper even in the UK. He said she also introduced him to Belizean music and culture, recalling the time he saw Andy Palacio perform in the UK.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, me and my sister have received so many messages of condolence and communications from, the relatives and some of the Belizean diaspora that knew Mum. And I mean, it's incredible how well she was regarded and respected to this day. And obviously there's much younger generations, such as yourself, who maybe didn't meet her personally, but knew of her. And, it means a lot to us. And, it's a great legacy that Mum has left, I believe. And she was always interested in new music. I mean, at the time, she would take me and my sister sometimes to see, to meet Belizeans who came into town. I remember when, she was very excited when Andy Palacio came, I think, for one of his first concerts in London. And Mum took me along to see him, and, was explaining to me more about Garifuna the culture, and they bring their own music and they bring their own instruments, and the turtle shells and all the different percussion they played. And I think I didn't realize how important a figure he was until later on, when he kind of passed away before his time, really. But his music lived on. I remember one visit to Belize, I was playing his album on a little speaker on the beach, and somebody walked past and said, kind of respect and so on. And Mum always was interested in what was going on, and she seemed to know. We used to get the papers sent through to England by cousins, Compton Fairweather regularly used to organise that. And, the Amandla would drop in the letterbox. I wouldn't think anything of it. And Mum and her mum would be discussing, the goings on. And she's really kept her ear to the ground.
And with that, we have come to the end of our newscast. The repeat can be viewed on this station later tonight at 9. And again tomorrow at midday. Join me again tomorrow for another news broadcast. I am Marisol Amaya. Have a safe and enjoyable evening.